Okay, we are going to call the meeting, regular meeting of the PRCAC for October 17th, 2024 at 7:02 PM. The first item we have is adoption of the agenda. I need to make an amendment.
Uh-oh.
One, I'll make an amendment, that Elizabeth requested, which is to separate out as two separate items, the water adjudication from the local Point Roberts water. The other is just, I want to touch on the changes, that Whatcom County is proposing to Title 22, as well as the Whatcom County budget.
Question,
Yes.
does that include the climate action committee person?
Nope, that would be an, do you want to add the climate action committee
I think, yeah,
person?
just for discussion.
For discussion?
perhaps, yeah, just to see.
Okay,
if we
so
want to take that.
that's 3 amendments to add, under new business. Everyone okay with those amendments? So just a motion to approve the agenda with
I'll
those
second.
3 amendments.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor? Is my owl working? Okay.
Yes, it looks like it's working.
No, voice.
Need someone to talk to you.
Can you say something to me, Prakash?
How's everyone doing? Can you hear
Eric.
me?
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay. So first we have is our first public comment. Does anyone have anything that's not going to be on the agenda today? Seeing none in the room. Anyone online have anything that's not on today's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Correspondence,
Quite a bit.
Brian.
Yes, of course, the transfer station CUP, we received a response from the county on our comments. Basically, what I took from it is they're going to replace the septic tanks. And I think that was probably the most important thing. The rest, I'm not sure who understood what we were talking about. But, I don't think that hurts in this case. Although the thing you brought up about wanting to see the actual easement that they have across the park's property, I don't know, they seem like they kind of just blew that off.
I think they did, but
He actually did call me because he wanted more clarification, and he said he would make the notation on the site plan.
Cool.
there,
Okay,
because I'd like to know what the easement is.
yeah, it should be an access easement.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
If
yeah.
that's what it is, that's fine, but
Yeah.
you know, if there's
No,
something
that's
else.
a good thinking on your
Okay.
part, of course. The other correspondence, we had the request from the garden club to be placed on the agenda. We, because of the Italian beautification, we had a request by the state of Washington to be placed on the November agenda. There was an email we sent to the planning commission about a week ago, on the 10th, their meeting, because they were talking about the capital improvement program. Very quickly, basically, we just sent our comments regarding the comprehensive plan and wondering why they're adopting a capital improvement program when they have no idea what's gonna go into it or what anything's going to cost.
Yeah.
They did respond, which was at the meeting. I sat through the joy of a planning commission meeting. And their response was, well, we're required to do this by law. We just put these things on here, we're guessing at the amounts. Anyway, that goes through the correspondence. If we can go to old business.
So,
Was it actually the words guessing, or
You know,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that's correct.
I was just wondering if it's like as close as, you know, close as hand grenades and small yield nuclear devices, or how
you know,
close was it?
So if you
it-
project it, at least you're on it.
Okay.
It means they
thought of us.
It may well be that I'm actually. I was unbureaucratizing.
I was just gonna ask. if
Their
that's-
language in this case.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, so, all right.
Okay, so first thing in old business would be broadband update for cash.
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't have much of an update. I did ping both Whitby-Tell and PUD Andrew. Whitby-Tell has not responded this month, but last month, I think right around the time of our meeting, I'm not sure I covered it in the meeting. But anyway, we got an email saying we await state, federal, and tribal interagency determination on how we will be able to proceed with the fiber USDA RUS grant project in Point Roberts. We are cautiously optimistic that we'll be able to give an update in your October meeting, but I did not hear back for the October meeting. So that's on the Whitby side. On the PUD side, actually, Atul Deshmani, who's the commissioner, said he might call in today more for the water issue. But if he does, then we can ask him about this. On the project website, the only update I see is August 2024. It says PUD develops a utility pole permit tracker and begins applying for pole attachment and county encroachment permits. If Andrew sends me an update, I'll share that with the committee. So unfortunately, not much to report.
I did actually look at that for cash and it showed that out of the multiple poll
Yeah.
permits that one had been granted, the rest I'll say pending. So
In
I did
progress.
talk to Atwal at the candidates meeting and I asked him, how long that takes, and he said that they actually had to reapply for some of them. They had to file additional paperwork. So to just watch that to see how they're progressing.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, next is the cable removal update. We don't have Elizabeth here. I know she did send another email to Elizabeth Cosa at Public Works to see if the attorney had received a response yet and what the next step would be on Public Works for the attorneys, Whatcom County attorneys, if they don't receive an answer back. So that's as far as we know on that. New business, Garden Club presentation requesting support of use of TBD funds on Tyee beautification between Benson and Gulf. Who's doing that one? Kim, Rihanna?
Then fill me in the competition. Oh, or, yeah. Yeah.
Vice versa?
Hang on, we have gotten, in the past, we've always had to come in for the request for it. And so we did, and at the county, they have the new person that's in charge of it now, so we've got an email from them, and I have forwarded it to you guys, that they had said that they had put, this is from Josh, read his last name, Chular. It's too small for me, sorry, forgive me, I'm sure you know who he is. He says his understanding is that the annual budget for the TBD now includes a line item of $10,000 for contractual services specifically for this work, i.e. Tyee. And he says because it's under the 10,000, that it can just go on and doesn't have to have does not have to be something that PRCAC has to approve. But I felt it was still good for us to come to let you guys know that the county has put that $10,000 line item, and we never exceed that amount. It's been like 8,500-ish.
At the most.
At the most?
You know, they budgeted, I've been kind of the liaison
Yeah.
between the club and the county, and going back and forth with Josh on all this and coordinating the different people that we've contracted with over the years. And, I did it now, we have SEMA is doing the contract with Slash, because they seem pretty enthusiastic about it. And even though initially, you know, we have each month laid out and all the work that has to be done and so forth, it's the grunt work. It's not the, you know, it's not the really nice stuff. We reserve that for the club. And even though their estimate, you know, of work has always been around $8,000 or so, it's, for the last 2 years, 3 years actually, it's come in more like around 7. Because things just haven't grown as much, you know, even the weeds, right? So, I don't anticipate it probably ever going above 8,500 or so. Because of the way it's designed, it's just the rudimentary, weed whack. Oh, that kind of thing. No home risk meeting and so forth. So the most expensive thing really has been, and the biggest obstacle really has been disposal of the green waste. Hopefully the day will come when that will be a local thing, you know, that can be happen, but until then, it's logistically, that's not going to be a real challenge. So consequently, according to Josh, it's basically just rolls over every year, as long as we stay, you know, within the budget, and as long as the people that we contract with comply with all of the rules and regulations, then we're golden. And I'm grateful. Speaking for the club, I'm very grateful that this is happening because.
And support community for PRCAC.
You know, of course, you know, because, I mean, Mother Nature keeps doing it, you know.
Yeah.
And, even though it's, you know, we have various ambitious plans for over the years for beautifying it more, for putting in a pollinator corridor, all this kind of stuff. None of that has any bearing whatsoever on the gas tax or
TBD
kind of
maintenance.
stuff. So that's all gardens love, you know, endeavors to make it nicer.
I have a
So,
question.
yeah,
Is that line item out of the general funds or is it out of the TBD funds?
CBD.
So, okay,
It's in the public right of way. It's,
So here's my thing though is,
yes.
let's,
I would feel better if we did give you a recommendation. Not only because that's how it's supposed to happen.
Right.
But two, Whatcom County Council has not yet approved the budget.
Okay.
So they have not approved the budget for Public Works. They have not approved anyone's budget so far. And without knowing whether, I don't see why it wouldn't pass, but on the
Yes.
likelihood, you know, if
Yeah.
it didn't pass, well, then you would be out of the luck.
Yeah,
Whereas if we continue with the process as we have,
Yes.
then we're covered.
Mhm.
If it for some reason doesn't pass council or doesn't pass the attorney's view of how the TBD fund has to be done. I'm following the better safe than sorry, saying that it's not already approved.
Yeah, and that's why we still came, because
'Cause
it's
you
better
never-
to, yeah, it's better, it's, you know, public money and we should
Yeah.
let the public know what's happening. And we do get quite a few people when we were doing our cleanup a few months back. I would say at least 7 different cars stopped and thanked us for how beautiful, tidy you look. So yes.
So my
Good luck.
suggestion would be that we, you know, make a motion to, as always, as historically, council approval, our recommendation to council to approve not to exceed $10,000 for the garden club beautification contract to be renewed.
So moved. Seconded.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Thank you.
thanks so much.
That's everybody. I saw Jared's hand go. up.
Jared's hand.
I saw Jared's hand. Jared's hand went up there. Next we have,
Sorry.
okay,
Allison, I just had a
Yeah.
question, not kind of directly related to this topic, but now that, you know, it's getting dark earlier, I'm just wondering, like, have we looked at lighting around Point Roberts, street lighting, and when was the last time there was a discussion around?
Why would we want to do that, Prakash?
Say that again?
I said, why would we want to do that? A lot of people are very happy with no lights in Point Roberts. I see a
Well-
lot of heads shaking here, heads nodding here. Yes.
Well, there's the sort of smaller streets, but even the main sort of, you know, Tyee Gulf and APA, as people are walking dogs and, you know, other activities, it's getting dark earlier. I just feel like it's sometimes a safety issue.
I know for years there was the Dark Skies Initiative to prevent us from having any streetlights and keeping the Dark Skies Initiative. That would be something I think that we would, maybe have to bring up as a topic of discussion again at our next meeting. To inquire to the community of, you know, which way
Yeah,
people
and
are.
I mean,
leaning.
we have technology, you know, there's things like motion sensors that are quite cheap nowadays, so you could provide lighting when there's people around. Anyway, that's maybe a topic for a different time, that we can talk about.
And Brian, you want to put that on our
Yeah,
agenda
okay.
for next month? That's something for discussion. Okay, so we have discussion of future implementation of water. 2 Point Roberts, possibly directly from the non-contiguous state of Washington. So I know we have the water board here.
So I kind of found out about this through the community because they forwarded the agenda to me. Elizabeth made sure I got an invitation today when she realized we hadn't been invited. So I really don't know how this came about or what you guys want to talk about. Can you give me a primer on?
Well, I think because, you know, even though 12 years seems like a long time, that the contract, the 50-year contract with the GVRD is set to expire in 2037. If you read the contract, there is no direct language to discuss how it would be renewed, when it would be renewed. It's actually fairly vague. It just said it can be renewed upon agreement of both parties. And making sure that we have alternatives. If for some reason the GVRD decided to not want to renew the contract based on their opinions. And also because we have gotten a lot of flack from people who live in like Tawasin and Ladner, trying to figure out why it's fair that Point Roberts has no water restrictions when Tawasin and Ladner has water restrictions. And if there's not enough water for Tawasin and Ladner to where they have to be put on restrictions, why is the GVRD selling to Point Roberts? And that could become a whole political nightmare in 12 years. And it doesn't have to be, that was just an example someone gave. Or if the water board has looked into the revitalization of our aquifer, tapping into another aquifer under Point Roberts, you know, drilling deeper. Like they have in areas like Ferndale and stuff, you know, where they drill deeper to hit water. Just so that when that happens in 12 years, we're not left with our pants down. And we all know when it comes to anything government, and if you're talking about drilling wells or aquifer revitalization, you've got to go through so many hoops in government agencies. Government doesn't work quickly. So 12 years really isn't that long of a time. So I think that's why the discussion is starting to come up, because as we all realize that, you know, any project that goes through the government can take 8 to 10 years.
Okay, well, I'm happy to be able to be here and answer some questions and, don't do a lot of public speaking. Anyway,
This isn't public, this is just big family.
Yeah, public.
It's just big family.
So yeah, we're definitely aware of the details of the contract. I've got a copy here and in particular, in a minute, I will read you so you all can hear it. What the term says on that. And you're right, there is an opportunity for it to be extended through mutual agreement of both parties. If there's a disagreement, there are some things that are set in place for that. But basically it states a 50-year term. Well, actually, I want to read it to you guys, and we'll go from there. We've got Article 17, term, this agreement shall commence as of the date first above written. I think it said August 28th, 1987. And shall continue until the later of the 50th anniversary of the date first above written, or the end of the useful life of the appurtenances that are used to deliver the water.
Wait just a sec, could that be an issue?
It could.
It could, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what it says. So I'll read the whole list if you would like. The useful life of the GVW main, all pipes, meters, controls, valves, or pumps used to deliver the water to be supplied under this agreement from the Pebble Hill Reservoir to the delivery point, unless extended by mutual agreement of the parties. If the parties are unable to agree when the end of the useful life occurs, such issues shall be determined by the Chief Executive Officer of the Professional Engineers Association of British Columbia, or a person appointed by him or her.
But the thing to also note is that a lot of that equipment, a lot of that infrastructure has been actually updated.
On the
So,
Canadian side.
on the Canadian side, and that's what they're talking about, Canadians.
So I agree with you that we need to ensure that we have water supply. We're definitely aware of the need for that for this community. We all live here, and we have a duty to continue the water. So our intention is to approach Metro Vancouver and secure an agreement, mutual agreement to extend this. And we want to do that relatively soon, and we're gonna leave ourselves enough time to develop an alternative source, but the hope is that an alternative source will not need to be developed. That's gonna be a huge undertaking. Yeah, so if that becomes necessary, we will do it, but we're gonna pursue the better option here in the near term. We'll definitely keep everybody updated how this goes, and if you do have questions about this, because like I say, we didn't have a lot of communication before this meeting. Our office is open, business hours all the time. You're welcome to come in, call in, email us. I'm happy to answer questions about this stuff, talk to people if they have questions, concerns, anything like that. And we have monthly meetings as well. So if you want to come and hear what we're doing or ask questions directly of us, we're real happy to address some of this stuff there.
I could add to that too, for the monthly meetings though, over the years, and since I became commissioner, what was it? 100 years ago, something like that. This subject has come up actually quite a few times.
Yes.
And in fact, at one point, we actually went so far as to get some bids as to get what do you call it, to figure out whether it's feasible.
Feasibility study.
Feasibility study. What a unique name. Anyway, and at that time, and this would have been maybe 15 years ago, it would have been a little more than $100,000 just to get the feasibility study from them.
It's a little closer to 200.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking like the very first time, so
Okay.
maybe more than 15 years ago. Yeah, it would have been more than 15 years ago. And so, and then again, it came up again, and that time it had doubled. So just for the feasibility study, it was like crazy. And that, needless to say, we didn't follow through on that, because the thing of it is, it's not like we're a government agency in that we don't get money from taxes or anything like that. It's all from the ratepayers. And so to justify a massive expense, of course, there are grants, and we actually looked into that as well. We were looking into grants from the feds for two things. One, which was the main priority, which was the replacement of infrastructure on the point, failing infrastructure on the point, because a lot of it's reaching the end of its lifespan. And that would require, that's a huge project. And the other, of course, was whether grants would be available for running a pipe across the bay from Blaine. And in both of those, they're both feasible, expensive, but feasible, not impossible. And there was also some talk of desalination systems. There was also, of course, the issue of perhaps revitalizing some of the wells. Dan knew a lot more about the aquifer, the actual structure of the aquifers on the point, and actually did a presentation at one meeting some years ago about the aquifers on the point and how they're not really the best source of water for us, or consistent. And So in other words, the subject has come up quite a few times over the years. But now that we're getting a little closer, like you say, 12 years can fly by.
13.
Well, 13 technically, yeah,
12 and
yeah. The thought was to, and we could, and just recently, this came out, oh golly. It was when Dan was still there, so it was some months ago. We actually contacted our attorney and for advice as to how to go about approaching Vancouver with this issue. It's not like we can say, hey, you know, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it? You know, it's a little early for that since it's another 13 years. But the thought was that it would be worthwhile to at least get a letter of intent or some kind of assurance that, yeah, this is still a good idea, you know, we'll definitely keep the avenues open, you know, something, some kind of a legal letter of understanding, basically. And so our attorney advised us that we should do that and get another couple of years from now, but to start the procedure going now and so that Vancouver knows that we want to renew and that and that we want some assurance that they're still amenable to renew. So we're kind of trying to cover both bases. I personally, I mean, as a commissioner and I don't think it would be fruitful to get into a situation of saying, well, you know, if you're not gonna renew, we're just gonna get water from Blaine, so there, you know, I mean, that would be kind of, I don't think it'd be kind of productive, and it could kind of paint us into a corner for having to spend like zillions of dollars.
That's clearly.
A tool, is on, and he has his hand raised, if you're not familiar with the tool, he used with the, PUD.
Yeah.
So a tool,
So I just wanted to offer that there's a person that the Public Utility District has on staff to support water systems all over the county. His name is Dave Olson. I will paste his email in the chat. He's free consulting and probably not an infinite amount of hours. But if you at in the Water Services Department would like to have someone to bounce things off of, a second opinion, that might satisfy the community also, to make sure that you've got a second set of eyes looking on the decisions you're making on anything, but certainly on this planning for potential increased resilience. He would also know a lot about the grants that are available and might make your life easier in terms of identifying whether there's potential resilience funding for Point Roberts on this subject. So I'll go ahead and paste that in the chat. Thank you.
Hey, thanks. There was one other thing that also came up, what was it? Well, it had to do with, well, he was just talking about that. No, I can't remember it now, but there was one other thing other than that, and it also had to do with water quality. Is that, you know, when we first broached the subject with Blaine some time ago, their water wasn't so great. And it wasn't nearly the quality of the water that and there are various other issues too, as far as the kind of the amount of treatment, the amount of, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, it's not exactly cut and dry. It's not exactly, you know, comparing apples with apples as far as the two water sources are concerned. So,
add a couple things to that. So when he's talking about a feasibility study and a cost of election money, when it becomes, if it becomes, and hopefully it doesn't, if it becomes apparent that we need to develop another source, we'll absolutely allocate the money to do a feasibility study, figure out how we want to approach this. We just don't want to go away. There's no point in doing it if we don't know that we have to and spend this additional money. Studies have been done in the past, like you mentioned. In fact, prior to the acquisition of Metro Vancouver Water, there was extensive exploration, including drilling wells in Blaine, exploring the possibility of running a pipeline across. It would be a 13-mile pipeline and involve building a lot of stuff on the Blaine side. And so, you know, there's been, historically, there's been a lot of work that's been done looking into this sort of stuff. Ultimately, the political climate changed and they managed to get water from BC. And it's been quite nice. But yeah, so if it gets to the point where, we actually need to start looking at other options, we'll absolutely start doing that. We're gonna do lots of time available to develop something, so. The other thing I wanna mention is you're talking about, the wells in Point Roberts. My understanding is we don't really have an aquifer, so to speak. We have some wells that produce, but we don't have anything that would supply nearly what we need in order to serve this community. They did a whole bunch of well exploration in the early days, well, like 70s. They did find at least one that produced fairly well, but the water was not, it was extremely high in chlorides, it was brackish, not drinkable. So, and then I was a child at this point, I don't remember, but apparently in the years before that, Vancouver water came in the summer when they started, pushing water from some of these higher producing wells. It was not nice and nobody drank it. So just for a little bit of perspective on the capacity of our wells, like we intend to use them in the future if we need to supplement the Vancouver source, which is capped at the daily volume that we can draw. And some of the lower production wells might be able to do that nicely for us, but putting them back into service is not going to service all of Point Roberts. So that's why they went about casting into Vancouver and Blaine looking for additional water sources. So
Well, I remember what I was gonna mention. Also, just as a matter of record, the proposal or keeping it on the table as far as accessing water from Blaine is part of the comprehensive plan as well, as I recall, at least in principle. So the infrastructure is there, if it needs to be pursued, we've already put in place at least the legal infrastructure to start to pursue that as a part of our comprehensive plan already. So.
One reason that this came up so urgently for me a number of months ago, and Elizabeth, we've all recognized, is the Nooksack water shed adjudication process. So that could go south on us, sideways on us very easily, which would leave us with no local water, could leave us with no local water. If those wells were deemed, no, they're part of the Nooksack. And I gather that that's primarily because of the Native Nations laying claim, understandably, et cetera. So the fact that that is happening and it is imminent and we don't know how that's going to go is what really brought this to a head for us, I think, was, but what if that goes sideways and then, Vancouver is looking at building 5 26-story buildings in Tawasin, increasing population. We don't know what climate change is going to do to the situation. So it just seemed like to start that conversation sooner than later was a very wise thing to do.
Well, and like Mark had mentioned, the Port of Bellingham just signed the contract for the Point Roberts Economic Development Strategy.
Right.
Which is a year-long process for the economic stability of Point Roberts, what needs to be done, which would be optimal time for the water board to also work with them, because obviously water is a major infrastructure, right? And requirement for economic stability. And like Atul said, there are grants for that. And also with them doing this, there's grants for that. It's kind of beneficial timing to start looking at a few different things, especially with the Port of Bellingham doing this work. And I know Atul's got his hand raised again because he's with the PUD and knows about the water adjudication. Atul, what were you gonna let us know?
I was there, and the other day, I forgot what day that was, Monday or Tuesday, anyway.
Tuesday.
And this question came up, so I did some research and I just wanted to report back. that the Sumas community is also looking for an exclusion. Their road is more difficult than yours because they're contiguous with the Nooksack watershed, but they have hired an attorney for the purpose of prosecuting an exclusion from the adjudication. There's a Whatcom Family Farmers event next week where that attorney will be traveling from Oregon. I will get that person's contact information and pass it on to you all. When I spoke to Bill Clark, who works with the Ag Water Board, who has decades of experience with water rights law, he agreed. Obviously, I shouldn't speak for an attorney or put an attorney up to anything. You know how they are. But when I discussed Point Roberts, it seemed reasonable to him also that really including you all in the adjudication is an unnecessary hassle. But of course, that's up to the judge. It's not up to ecology. It's up to the judge, the Superior Court judge. More coming, state, and I'll follow up.
Thank you, Atul.
Wanna
Yes,
add
Kim?
to this? I know you said that it's in the comprehensive plan. Will they already be doing it? So have you submitted something, the 2025 comprehensive plan with the county? I would suggest you still send a letter and make sure that you're in there as something to be looked at and considered with, as, you know, part of the future, you know.
I think he was talking about, we have a comprehensive plan that we are currently
Right,
updating.
but still with the county though, the county's doing their county,
The county comp plan.
the county comp plan. I think it's still a good idea to tell them. Cause like, I mean, you guys do know. No, but
I don't know if that's.
But there's zoning things and economical things, cause like with us, the garden club, and we're still working at seeing how we can do a green waste here in Point Roberts. We submitted a letter and saying, and I also talked to the county planning department, that have you guys even thought of Point Roberts being self-contained so we can do green waste in Point Roberts because we have no zoning for it? And they're like, oh, no, we haven't. So it wasn't even, there's things we are not on their radar. So it behooves us to be proactive and tell the county, granted you have your own, but if you put it in the agenda with the county and at least let them know these things, then they've been informed and it's a public record and they know about it and they still need to support you. Even though, but anyway, that's.
I will check it out. I'm not sure what they would want to hear from us, but I will take a look at it.
Yeah, it was just like, yeah, we just wrote a letter and now we're a public record. So.
Well, I liked hearing that you spoke to your lawyer, and that you're thinking of sending Greater Vancouver a letter of intent. I would like to request that you do it sooner rather than later. I wouldn't wait 2 years. Get on to it, definitely do it for 2025. Because it's true, like Vancouver is growing hugely. Lots of development. For the last 3 summers, the water reservoir in North Vancouver has been at an all-time low. And that's going to continue on because of the lack of snow. So yeah. And if you tie it in with, well, Elliot Smith from the Bellingham Authority, he lives here, so tie it in with their big project that they're doing. And thank you for coming tonight on such short notice.
Thanks for the interest and the questions, and like I say, we're available if you guys have, if you're looking for information, if you just want to ask some questions, just get a hold of us, we're around. And like I say.
And while we're on that note, at our next meeting in November 27th, we have Robin McPherson. She is the ecology adjudicator manager based in the capital.
Olympia.
Thank you, I just did a blank. And she's going to be talking to us on Zoom all about the Nooksack water adjudication process. So we're going to be, after this meeting, getting the word out to everybody So anybody who has the well on their property needs to be informed, because I did go to the public meeting in Ferndale. And a lot of the people who had wells were very annoyed and angry, as you can imagine. The Department of Ecology was saying, don't ignore the adjudication process, because it could impact your land for selling it or developing it. So I think that we need to get the word out to our community, because I've heard people say, I'm not gonna bother, but you do have to bother. So maybe you'll come back to that, November, actually, it's November 21st, not the 27th.
Atul, you had something?
Yes, sorry, I'm talking too much.
You're good, Atul.
Becky Snyder at Whatcom County Public Works works in a capacity. 2 years ago, the PUD, working with Joe Timmons, got funding for the county to be a resource for residents of the county that was not ecology. And because ecology is the entity bringing the suit, they're doing their best. And the purpose of the county is to be looking out for us, the county staff person. And the name of that person is Becky Snyder. She's local in Whatcom County. She works for Public Works, and she has been excellent. And she was at the last adjudication event in Ferndale. I don't know if you went to the very last one, that was in September. And so her contact information is probably available to you there. And if I may suggest that it would be beneficial for the community to have both ecology and Becky Snyder there.
Thank you, Atul.
So can I ask a question? In regards to the wells, have they notified the people on the Point Roberts that have wells that they need to be to this?
They're supposed to have.
It's supposed to happen now, and the new date for the notices to go out is January or February of next year.
Okay, so notices have not gone out.
No, and then after that, you will have 2 years to respond.
Okay, I just know a few people that.
So I just want to be clear that the adjudication and it'll be another year before anything of significance happens. So we are more than 3 years away from anything of substance happening on the adjudication.
The good part for the point is the judge is working on it this year.
Is what?
The judge is working on it this year.
And, no,
Dave.
he will,
This part.
he will recuse himself. I've already had that conversation about him. Anything having to do with Point Roberts, he will recuse.
Yeah, he'll
himself.
recuse himself.
It's a nice thought.
Yeah. Anyone else have any questions
I have
for?
a quick question. Does anybody know how much water costs if it came from Blaine or like through desalinization or coming from Canada? Does anybody have those prices like at their fingertips perhaps?
I know the costs, friends that I have in Blaine, their costs are pretty much the same as mine are here on the Point. Same with I used to pay a bill in Maple Falls, and the water actually in Maple Falls was more than what I paid here.
In terms of, obtaining water from Blaine, for chat or doing a desalination plant.
Yes.
It's been looked at in the past, but it's been a lot of years, so the prices wouldn't be representative today. As mentioned, we'd have to do a feasibility study and really see exactly what the prices would be. So I can't give you an answer on that, unfortunately. I'd like to know that too, but
And to get permits to desalinate.
Well, yeah, and if you can- and it's not
Infrastructure. We can't even get it off, so.
yeah, so it would be an undertaking.
Well, there was a balancing act. What came across over and over again with running a pipeline, right? Was that even if we got some so-called grants, grants don't cover everything. We still have to get it like Williams, right? government, sponsored loans, kind of things. And all that ends up being passed on to the consumer, of course. That's the bad news. The good news is that it can be, in the long term, a little bit offset, because if we were getting water from Blaine, then we would just charge for what's used.
Mhm.
Whereas now, we would have to charge a certain amount, whether it's used or not, because that's in the contract.
But the other part of that is then, when we got water from Vancouver, right, we actually pay to build some infrastructure over there.
Exactly.
Water,
So we paid for all that infrastructure over there,
and a similar thing would happen in Blaine. We would be involved in beefing up their infrastructure, and they deliver the water, and then all of that is an ongoing, we have to pay for depreciation of that, because essentially. Like, so it's not, nothing is, magic, it's, yeah.
Okay, well, the water has to come from somewhere.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so like, it doesn't come from Blaine, and it doesn't come from Canada, it's gotta come from the ocean? You know, I mean, I know, that's a possibility, correct? I mean,
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Also, environmental impact was major, because of it's not so much that desalination is getting rid of the brackish water.
So you take a portion of the water out as desalinated water, and the rest goes back in as way more salty than it started.
True enough.
That pipe has to go quite a ways offshore.
And when you're talking about supporting this community in the summer, it's many hundreds of thousands of gallons of water per day, so that's like a big plan. So not saying it's not possible, like, we have really good technology, we can do lots and lots of stuff, but in terms of feasibility of building it, getting it permitted, and the cost of it, we, that's.
Yeah, if there's
that's a question.
desalinization, the people on the point would have to use a lot less water than they are now.
That'd be great.
Well,
And it would still cost a lot.
well, yeah, water is water, you need to, your household water, maybe not watering in your yard, but you do need water, so.
I keep wondering how, it feels to me like we've got a big pile of spaghetti of issues here. That we have the county that's looking forward to building its next comprehensive plan for the next 10 years. Is it 10 years that they're, it's 10 or 20 years, which this is obviously going to be an issue. There's also the fact that we've been designated urban rather than rural, which requires somebody, I'm assuming the state and the county, to upgrade our infrastructure and services to match those of Blaine or Bellingham, Ferndale. I'm assuming that that's what that means. And so water would be part of that. So it just seems to me that we really need to be being very proactive and starting this process. I mean, we started the stormwater management project 3 years ago. I went back and was like, that's been 3 years and we don't have anything done yet.
So to clarify, the water issue here is a little bit separate from most of the other things that you're talking about. So we have a pretty clear path. It's, obtain a mutual agreement. If we don't do that, then pursue an alternative means of getting water. And it doesn't have to be complicated by the other things that are concerning us. It's a pretty clear path, and this is the only thing we focus on. And so,
Well, I appreciate your confidence. I think that your constituents want to know
Yep.
more of your process and be assured that you've got the long range in.
I will encourage you again to be proactive in asking us for information. Like I say, we hold monthly meetings. Paper's always there. People come and ask questions. We're really happy to answer them. Happy to walk into our office. If I'm there, I'll talk to you. If I'm not there, I'll try to get a hold of you, or maybe the rest of our staff can answer your questions. So please contact us with questions.
Yeah.
Don't have to be worried about this. There may be challenges, but we'll take care of them, and please talk to us.
Like I did this afternoon.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't immediately recognize you. I apologize.
It's okay.
How can you not know New Jersey?
I always see them on Halloween.
Yeah, wait, you also Santa Claus.
For Christmas, when he's.
I was gonna say he's Santa Claus for Christmas.
Santa Claus.
Don't get recognized.
It's okay,
Yeah,
we know I know somebody at the water department.
The thing about water is it's like electricity. When you turn on your tap, you expect nice
Right.
water to come out. You know?
Clean water.
Okay.
And I don't think, I just turn on my water every morning and I don't. give it a
You expect clean, safe water.
Well,
right?
I just, not expect it, I just kind of like.
Well, it's
It's just gonna happen.
you take it for granted, it's like a utility. You walk over to the wall, right? Turn on the lights.
So,
I know, I got, Pat clarified for you that the comp plan is every 10 years unless they get an extension.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does anyone else online or in person have any questions for the water district on this subject? Okay, seeing none. Thank you for showing up on late notice and answering the questions. Maybe what day and time is the water board meeting?
It is the second Tuesday of every month at 5 PM at the Water District office.
Perfect. Just so everybody knows that, just so now you know what's gonna happen is everybody's gonna show up at your meetings. You're not used to having people.
You're gonna need a bigger room
You're gonna need a bigger room
and more chairs.
and more chairs.
And like I say, I'm also like, if you contact our office, if you walk in or you call in or whatever, I'm really happy to answer questions. So if you don't want to wait till the meeting, get
Like
over.
when I come in, I'm like, hey, can you fill up my form for me? I need a fire hydrant form.
Hey, Allison,
Yes.
yeah, just a quick thing. I know Atul has to leave at 8. So I just wanted to see if he has any thoughts on the broadband issue that we discussed previously. Atul, not to put you on the spot, but
Oh, yep.
if you have anything to add there, we did get a brief update from Andrew with the website link, and we've looked at the progress, but if you have anything to share, would be happy to hear.
Was there a concern raised from the Point Roberts community?
No, just, every few months, we just check in on where the process is and
So the project is, in development. One of the things is getting a mutually beneficial arrangement with Puget Sound Energy. Whatcom Pudi got our own franchise with Whatcom County, which hopefully will help us in a negotiation to get the best pole access leasing arrangement. We'll be discussing that in more detail on Tuesday to see if we have gotten contracts on the remaining poles that we got only one out of the many agreements that really met our original request. Obviously, we're trying to save money so we can serve more people. And, PSC has a slightly different objective. It's obviously to get value for the infrastructure they have. So they'll be back and forth on this. And I don't know more about that today. Was Andrew on this call today?
no, he has a conflict, so he couldn't make it, but I'll follow up with him. Their website does have that status that you just shared, so thank you for.
Yeah. Nothing big in addition to report on broadband today, but I think we'll have a lot more information by the end of the month for sure.
Great, look forward to that.
Everything is looking good. I had a email and correspondence with one of your residents who talked about a situation where some challenges that happened in a previous Whidbey Talk project left him unserved and other people on his street unserved over a archaeological compliance issue. And on Tuesday, I will talk to staff to see if they can help alleviate that concern. Sometimes it's easier with government to government type of negotiations than it is for the private sector. So hopefully we can help alleviate that bottleneck in getting some people that already have the infrastructure to actually get service. So.
Great, I'll forward the latest update from Whidbey Tel to you, Atul, separately.
So not much to report today on broadband, but in a few weeks, we will have more to report.
Great, look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we did, the addition, I just wanted to discuss briefly, Whatcom County budget, which did clear the planning commission. I did read it. My eyes hurt.
How thick is it?
Yeah,
Small print.
yeah,
But the parts that have to do with Point Roberts aren't very long.
oh, that wasn't hard. Anyone who participated in the meeting with Whatcom County Parks, here at the Community Center, where we were discussing Lighthouse Park, and we were told, you know, they were gonna be doing their budget.
Yeah.
Okay, Lighthouse Park isn't in it. Let's just go there. For Parks and Rec, the only thing in there is a notation, for Lily Point, to have the parking lot paved.
Oh, Jesus.
So that is, a budget item, that is all for Whatcom County Parks, in reference to Point Roberts, so, obviously, what we discussed when they were here with us, didn't come to fruition, in their budget planning. Interestingly enough, when I read through stormwater, crossing my fingers, seems that we had the initial report, from, the engineer, and are supposed to be getting our final report in February. I had seen, and Brian had seen the report in May, the For Your Eyes Only report, which showed a lot of what we saw. I had hoped, knowing that there was 4 more feasibilities or 4 more studies, that needed to be done separate from this on specific areas, because they are too involved to be part of this one, that there might be a budget line for those, or one of the 19 projects that were listed on it, even one of the 3 that they listed that are 3 million each. There is zero money listed in, stormwater through Public Works, in that budget.
So we can stomp our feet all we want and make,
Well, no, it's, you know, there can always be similar to how we got the funding for, the stormwater management, plan.
but that's a small amount of money. We're talking.
Yeah, 380,000 is
Yeah.
the small amount. What I will say is, we are just gonna have to work as a community. Elizabeth Cosa is absolutely amazing. I have spoken to her. I have spoken to Alicia Rule. I have spoken to, Joe Timmons. I have talked to Sean, at Congressman Larson's office. Because basically how it works is the federal government gives the state money, and then the state then disperses that money. Anytime that there is money for these types of projects that come up through the state, or the federal government gives the state money, I will hear from somebody. And they are going to contact and let Elizabeth Cosa know. She said she is more than willing, you know, hey, this is how we're gonna get this done. We're gonna get this through grant money. She is willing to file for grant money if it is available on the state level. So I think that's just us as a community continuing to work with, you know, Senator Schumacher, Joe, Alicia, depending on who gets elected, they're both up for election. And maintaining a good relationship with Elizabeth. And helping them however we can to ensure that, you know, our application is the best application, when it goes to the state, and that we have our state representatives and stuff backing to do it. Because obviously the money isn't going to come directly out of the budget for Whatcom County. With that being said, the Whatcom County budget, they are cutting and they are cutting and they are cutting. And trying to find other ways to bring money in. Which leads me into, Brian, we wanted to discuss the loss of position.
I put it on the agenda. I think it came from one of our other, I'm not trying to throw out anybody. The issue is, that I understand, is they're terminating the climate coordinator, with the county. And I think it's personally, and as a member of this group, I see the issue around climate as one that's been mismanaged. It's been portrayed as an environmental issue. And when I used to have good long hair and a full beard, and that's how it's portrayed. It's the other. The reality is, as I see it, it's a problem of how human populations make and use energy, and how we are organized economically and industrially. What's happened instead is it's environment versus economy, and I disagree with that portrayal. And so I think it's what I would hope that we can suggest to the county is that this mindset that, hey, this is really important to the economy, that's short-sighted to remove this concept. Looking at the CIP, the county has been tagged with a $12 million remediation for a firing range just south of Bellingham. It's and it's been there since 71, and it's one of two, the plantation firing range. It's been there. It's been there since 1971. It's one of only two firing ranges, but what do they have to remediate? Lead shot. Okay, and so the water, the ground, and all of this stuff. So the county's made some bad decisions, and now I believe they're making some more bad decisions by taking away what's going on. I understand they're on the hook from the state to fix these issues, but I just hope they can look at what they're thinking about doing. Tossing the environmental coordinator out, the climate coordinator out, excuse me, because I think there is a lot of potential there. When I was listening to the planning commission meeting last week, one of the planning commissioners brought up the concept, well, gosh, this was caused by the people with guns and stuff. Can we, is there a way we can get money back from the gun shops and all this? And of course, everybody pretended they didn't hear anything, because I don't know, guns and stuff like that is a political hot button, as we all know. So, so we're all on the hook here for, what few have done. So anyway,
Thank you, Jack Laus.
yeah, I'm not sure where this goes next from us. If it's okay with the group, I could draft a letter that tries to point out what I believe are the shortcomings in their vision for the CIP. And I can bring it back to the next meeting. It's not anything that's gonna happen one way or the other, but I think if the group supports it, I have no issue. I'm a very good bureaucrat. If nobody supports this, that's fine. I've done what my heart says I need to do, and that's why I'm here.
Well, I know that Shauna Sylvester is very concerned as well, and she has written the county.
Yeah.
And yes, I would support a strongly worded message that our environment and our economy are integrally interlinked, and it's very short-sighted. It's just another bad decision in a line of lots of bad decisions.
All right, yeah, well, yes, okay, well.
Anyone else for Cash, Jared? You have a position?
I don't have enough understanding of what the position actually, in terms of like tangible output, like what they would have been responsible for to make a judgment one way or the other. If, Brian, you have some of that, it would be great if you could share.
I would be delighted to find out what I can, Josh.
Kim?
Out of everything that they were, that you guys were asking for from Point Roberts, why did they pick to pave a parking lot that does not need to be paved? And then you
Exactly.
have to create basins to clean that runoff.
Mhm.
And most likely they're going to pave it while the eagles are nesting, like when they built the parking lot.
Mhm.
I'm Eagle Skynet, so I have to share that.
My question is
But out of
that,
everything we need, why?
well,
like,
Lily Point is one of the areas that requires its own special review for stormwater, and outflow. So to me,
yeah.
creating impervious surface in an area that requires its own stormwater management plan doesn't really make sense. So that would be my question, in broaching, in next year, the Parks Department, of not really a good plan.
No.
Let's move the,
Yeah.
money over that way. Cause no, I agree with you. That's-
Yeah, so keep me in the loop.
Yeah. Anyone else regarding yay or nay for Brian's proposal to write a letter?
I'm going along with Prakash said. I'd like to find out some more information.
Sure, I'm delighted to look up, anything I do would be a draft, obviously, and,
I'd like to find out.
we're quite happy to have both you and Prakash on because you have economic minds beyond Santa
Here's
Claus.
the thing that bugs me with any of the adjudication of sites that I would consider, because I come from the state that has two things, organized crime and Superfund sites. I mean, those two
So you-
things,
yeah.
New Jersey, they're
You see the
both our
opportunity.
natural resources. So, we had so many Superfund sites, we literally ran out of money, but it wasn't at county level. Because the Superfund sites should be at state, federal level.
Right.
It has no business dumping this off. Because if it's that much harm, then what you really need to do is take it at a state level or a federal level and say, if there's enough lead in that ground to affect groundwater and so on, then that should become part of a project that's funded by like Hannaford or any of those, you know?
Yeah,
And that's the way I look at it. You stick them with a big bill like, oh, look, you have this company here and now you have this problem. Here, county, here's a bill for $12 million. No, the state and federal government, they spend enough money on stuff that they can come in and adjudicate that site immediately, along with probably a half a dozen other sites.
So we'll hold until Brian does his due diligence research and gets back to everyone on all of the details.
yeah, I'll provide information, I will not necessarily provide direction, okay?
No,
So that
that's
it's,
fine.
so it's not that we're,
No.
we're
Yeah,
in the Open Meeting Act
Yeah.
legalities.
Yeah.
so I will actually be at county council on Tuesday night.
Thrill seeker.
I am a thrill seeker. Partially because my husband will be there to speak about amendments to Title 22. Basically, Title 22 is the procedures for, how you apply for building permits and all this.
Yeah.
PDS is requesting to change Title 22 to state that prior to applying for any permit whatsoever, whether it be a septic permit, whether it be a fill and grade permit, whether it be, a revocable encroachment permit. You have to apply for a natural resources permit first.
Is this gonna affect the transfer station?
Should not, because there's,
they wanted to replace the septic tanks.
well, so here's the thing. They want you to apply for a natural resources permit to see if you're in a natural resources area. If you're not inside of a natural resources area, they'll sign you off. You can then go for your septic permit or what have you. If you are, well, then you gotta go through all your Department of Natural Resources. The issue that I take with it is currently, if someone has a failed septic, you apply for a repair permit. Because Whatcom County Health Department requires that once you've been noted as a failure, you have 30 days to be contracted with the designer. You have 60 days to get a permit from that date, to get a permit and get it installed. They will give you a grace of up to maximum of 6 months, depending on how bad it is. Now, currently, when somebody submits for a septic permit, doesn't matter what kind it is, the designer goes and does what's called a site and soil. They dig, check the soils, check the water, everything else. Then Whatcom County Health Department, who is certified in soils, goes and does the same thing and looks around, make sure, you know, is there any wetland plants, all that kind of stuff. Then it goes to PDS, where someone looks up the lot to see, hey, is this in a shoreline, archaeological, or wetland? Nope, you're good to go. If it is, they're like, you guys gotta go through and do a natural resource permit. So the process is already currently being done. But if we go to what PDS wants, okay, you now have an extra permit fee, because you have to pay this fee. Not only that, PDS has 28 days to notify you that your application is complete. They have up to 28 days from the time you apply to say your application is complete, or issue you an NOAR, which is a notice of additional requirements, saying something on your application
So they're
didn't make
not only
sense.
delaying things, they're also grabbing extra money, cash from.
Yeah.
So here's my issue.
Just makes your life.
In Point Roberts, we have a lot of old septics.
Yeah.
We do a lot of repairs, whether it be, it's the tank. Sometimes it's the whole system, sometimes it's just somebody's got an old metal septic tank. We're not gonna be able to meet the 30-30 rule of Whatcom County, which is the property owner contracting with the designer, getting it, and then also getting it installed within 60 days. Because before you can even apply for the health department permit, you're gonna have to go and apply to PDS. Well, PDS has 28 days to even let you know if your application is complete.
On an
So-
existing septic, on an
Me-
existing septic.
Well, but on an existing septic, you can apply for an exemption, but they still have 28 days to get back to you.
Like
on
I
your
said, on
exemption.
an existing septic, so some guy with a rubber stamp somewhere,
But my issue
sorry.
is that somebody with a failed septic is polluting the environment.
Thank you. Yeah,
We need to get that repaired as quickly as possible. And the fact that I could understand if the process currently wasn't checking to ensure that the
Right.
property isn't within shorelines, archaeological, or a wetland.
no,
But that's already being done.
yeah,
And I will say that Ken did have a project, and we were within shorelines, and we were within archaeological, and we were within a wetland.
Oh, geez.
Over a year to get my DNR
meanwhile, you're,
and to get my natural.
meanwhile, you know, you pollute the ground and, you know, it's like, and everybody's happy, they got
So-
more money in the bank.
Luckily, that one wasn't a failure, that was a new build,
Just,
but PDS, and I actually was given a call from Natural Resources, he apologized. He's like, I'm so sorry, the person that was doing Point Roberts is no longer with us. So we're trying to figure out who we're gonna send to Point Roberts, and it looks like it might be me. And I'm like, okay, they don't have the staff to do the work they have.
Current work.
And currently, there is someone at PDS that gets all the septics, that pulls up the GIS, looks to see, and if it is in archaeological, if it is short, like, they look at the wetland map, if they're unsure, they can go to Department of Natural Resources and say, hey, I just wanna make sure. And if they're not, they tell you, sorry, your septic permit is on hold until you do this.
Sounds like Point Roberts needs its own overlay.
No, but
For
see,
twenty,
here's my
Title
issue.
22, I know, yeah.
This isn't just Point Roberts. This is everywhere. So there's over 20,000 septics in Whatcom County. This affects Maple Falls. This affects Birch Bay.
Yeah.
Quick question, if you have a failed septic,
Yes.
can you lose, and it's not repaired, can you lose the occupancy, for the house? And have the people, could a person be forced out? Because
If you don't repair your septic, so that's why they say,
And it kind of keeps. And the
as long as you're in the process, no, they're not going to.
Yeah.
But they do have, through the Whatcom County Health Department, their set of standards, rules, regulations, because it actually comes from the state. That says, you know, you're in the process, you have to do this. If you do not respond to their letters, if you do not go through, then yes, the prosecuting attorney can actually file suit, and they can actually,
For your occupancy.
well, no, they actually, deem your home inhabitable.
Condemn your house.
They can,
Down your house.
that is a process that can happen. I don't think it happens.
So where did this law come from? Was this something that, the folks down in Olympia were cooking up or?
No, this is strictly Whatcom County PDF kind of changing Title 22.
I think they want the money.
So why not just raise the fees?
Yeah, and just say, look, we just wanna get.
Well, so here's my question. I don't think it's just about money. I think it's about slowing down growth.
Slowing down what?
Slowing down growth, because
Oh, yeah,
so the builders in Whatcom County are not happy about all of this because everything it's going to slow down the.
Yeah, but here's what's more
process.
important, is not only is it gonna slow down, it's gonna drive up the price of housing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this all does. It drives up the price of housing. That's why they have, it sounds like you got Franz Kafka working down there.
Property
It
taxes.
sounds great.
Well,
You know,
so
maybe he's working.
if we're trying to make more affordable housing,
That's not
which
gonna
is more
happen.
likely gonna be in outlying areas, not within the city. Like, this is kind of, to me, counterintuitive.
This adds cost and it adds process and procedure. And it drives up the price of housing, because the only thing happens is you get in line, and that's what happens. Every
So,
time they do this, the house goes up.
you know, part of it is, yes, because the state is making all counties inside of Washington state, they have to actually have better timelines. And they have to have rules, like there's rules now that you can't go over 3 NOLs. And they have to actually document things better, when they do notice of additional requirements. Like, there's more procedures and document recording that is now required by state law. And making sure certain deadlines are being done and met. And I think PDS just took the opportunity of, hey, we need to make amendments to Title 22 to meet the new state codes. We're gonna throw in a couple extra things. And
So to get back to my question, is how gonna affect the transfer station?
yes and no, because if it's already in the process.
Yeah,
So
it's-
it's not gonna affect, and like, if somebody already has a permit sitting on the shelf that's 3 years old, it doesn't matter. If you have an approved permit.
Just
you
as
have an
long as you
approved permit.
asked, and it.
They can go back.
Somewhere, somebody's got a reference that says, oh yeah, we got you waiting in line, you're like.
Yeah, they can go
20.
back.
We could, if you don't have it approved,
Yeah, if you're
in
not approved.
California, they changed rules, and if
Well,
you didn't have an approved
so-
plan, then you had to take over, like, there was a new water requirements and storm drain, blah, blah, blah. we had to redo all of those reports.
So
Redo
here's
all that
something
stuff, So.
on the state level that's interesting to know. Is currently, if your septic tank fails, you can get a tank only permit. As of, can't remember if it's March or May, don't quote me, don't remember which it is, it's March or May. State law will be changing that says if you don't have a septic permit on file for your existing septic system and your septic tank fails, you have to put in a whole brand new system. Currently in Point Roberts, we run into
That's so stupid.
many septics that there are no septic records for. Not necessarily because it didn't have one.
It's too old.
Well, no, what happened, I can't remember when it was, if it was, I think it was in the late seventies, early eighties, maybe, Pat might actually, Rob might know. There was a flood at the court case, and it wiped out all of the records in the basement.
That's why I can't find our record on the.
So some septic records were ruined. And they were all, right, it was paper, right? Nothing was put into, the computers at that time. So it's not that you necessarily didn't have one, it's just that it's not there. So if you happen to be one of those people, or somebody who just, back in the day, somebody just put the septic in without a permit, you can no longer repair your system. If there is no septic records on file for an approved permit, there's no permit on file, your tank fails, you have to put in a whole brand new system.
Now, this is Washington State.
This is Washington state law.
Wow.
So, again, there's a lot of, in Point Roberts, especially along the ocean, there's still a lot of old metal tanks.
There's a lot of, and a lot of them having taken care of a number of Airbnb properties. A lot of them they have one nostril above water at all times. Doug has to go out and drain them on a regular basis.
God.
And the other thing is the state is going to become more proactive in making sure that the county is ensuring that people are doing their septic inspections, gravity every 3, regular every year. We still run into properties, they're up for sale, one up the other day, never had an inspection on it, the septic was permitted in 1972.
Thank you for the septic classes, that saves.
So, right, but, there's ones, I've gone on ones with Ken, and I'm like, okay, metal tank, crossing fingers. And I literally will stand there like this, crossing my fingers that thing's watertight. Because it's within shoreline, is within archaeological, and, we've had them in the bay where, guess what, me crossing my fingers didn't help. But this is going to drag it out, and again, the process is being done. And to me, all it does is prolong sewage seeping into the ground. And I think it's, it's just backwards. Whatcom County Health Department is doing their job. They're coming out, they're checking the soils, they're approving, they're sending it to people, like, everything's being done appropriately. So is it one that PDS is trying to get money to make their budget? Or is Whatcom County trying to slow down development?
Or is somebody in the county department thinking, oh, isn't this a good idea?
I don't know, but I will be going for that, to watch my husband, and also listen and bring up.
When you're
issues
up,
of Point Roberts
when you're
in the
there,
budget.
would it be possible to just ask somebody, maybe somebody on the inside that said, what was the thought process on this? Is that something to ask?
Uh,
No?
And get a straight answer.
Just see what kind of answer you get.
Yeah, I don't think we get a straight answer.
No.
Um,
Is now the time to raise the issue of seceding from?
yeah, we don't have that kind of moolah.
No.
And nobody wants us because we have no infrastructure.
Yeah, we don't,
City of Blaine doesn't want us. We don't have enough infrastructure.
Republic
We
of
have
Point
second
Roberts.
comments.
No, no,
No.
yeah, it's, you know, I will say this. Like I said, my husband's gonna go because he's got his thing. My point in going is I do want to kind of change the narrative in the sense of, oh God, here's Point Roberts again. And I wanna go and I wanna thank Councilmember Ellenboss and the rest of council for getting us our stormwater. You know, I wanna thank the staff at Public Works and Elizabeth Cosa for all of the work they've done. You know, they answer us quickly and how amazing they've been.
right, Yeah.
And, you know, I wanna thank John Scanlon for going to bat for us with county and working with the Port of Bellingham with Gina to get us the economic development strategy that we've been trying forever to accomplish. And the members of the health department who, you know, worked with me, I don't know how many emails back and forth with updates on, you know, the different classes,
right.
for the septic classes.
Septic
You
place.
know, they did 5 of them. The staff took their Saturdays, they don't work Saturdays, they drove up to Point Roberts and, you know, did a 2-hour class. And, you know, the fact that they were amazed with us because so many people showed up. We had 400 people
Yeah,
get certified in 2 years over 5 classes. And they were great. Like I would email every once in a while, I'm like, what number are we at now? Do I need to post again? You know, things like that. And the one, she was late and she texted me, she got stuck in an hour-long border lineup, you know, so we started class a little late one day, you know, but it was her Saturday. She doesn't work Saturdays, you know. They were great. And setting up these classes. And I think this is the last couple of years has been the first time that I'm aware of in going to PRCAC meetings that we have had this much help from staff, this much help from council members, and not getting the, oh God, you're just Point Roberts. The staff has actually been wanting to work with us and they've responded,
That's half the battle.
you know.
But it's still getting the large infrastructure projects that need to be taken care of. We're not
It's
getting-
a work in progress. And I kind of look at, you know what, we used to get nothing.
Yeah.
We've actually had staff and council members that have tried, that are helping us. And we're actually finally starting to, it might be baby steps. But what do they say? You gotta crawl before you learn to walk.
Yeah.
But they could do some really simple things.
I know, but again,
we always have that parking lot.
yes, Kim.
The gas station that's closed,
Yeah.
Yes,
I just assumed that they went out of business. I heard that it was a tank leak.
No,
So what was it?
7-Eleven bought out
Okay,
Speedway.
okay,
They were determining which stores they were going to retrofit as 7-Elevens and which ones they weren't.
okay,
But Roberts didn't make the cut to be retrofitted into a 7-Eleven.
okay.
That piece of property is existing non-conforming. If it ceases, this is my understanding from reading the code, under existing non-conforming, if it ceases to exist and operate under its non-conforming status for over 12 months,
Yeah.
it loses its non-conforming status and has to revert to a conforming business.
Okay, well,
Uh,
that's better than, because somebody had told me that it was shut down. Someone worked there and this person was told they were shut down because there was a tank leak in one of the gas tank, you know, the gas holding tanks. And I was just like,
I think there would have to be notices.
I know.
No, if there was a gas leak in one of the holding tanks,
Okay, so this was.
Environmental Northwest would have been up here.
Right, yeah, I know.
And-
When I was gone, when we were out of
Yeah,
town for.
they would have had to have
So-
dug up the tanks, lifted the tanks, and then they actually have to take and dig out all of the contaminated dirt. And they have to truck it out of here, and they have to have it incinerated.
Yes,
Yes.
so good, I'm
So,
glad
no.
that it wasn't. I'm glad it wasn't what I was
Pumped
told.
out tanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, they pumped out the tanks and they.
but yeah, if it was a ground contamination, Northwest Environmental would have been up here.
But anyway, that was what I was told.
Yeah, no.
Truly.
But yeah, if it ceases to be
Yeah.
non-conforming for 12 months, then it.
And that was the
loses
thing.
And when does that clock start?
The day it shut down.
So it's already
It's in
4 or 5 months
July.
into that
Yep.
period.
Yeah,
Cause it closed when we were on vacation, that's why.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cause I came back and
So-
then all these things changed.
I haven't gone down the rabbit hole to see if it's for sale. But if somebody's bored one night, I guess they could look to see if that particular property has gone up for sale or,
Imagine Fred will buy it if you do.
you know.
I keep hearing them pull the tanks and.
What do you make it
pull
into?
tanks And remove the canopy that's out front there, but.
Turn it into a little mini mart. I don't know. That might be, Pat Grubb's really good at finding that stuff out. That's above my pay grade. He's the journalist that goes deep diving into that stuff, not me. But, so is there anything else that anyone has that they want us to talk about? So next month we have the Department of Ecology, and hopefully we will have updates from Would Be Tell. And it sounds like we'll have updates from PUD for where they're at.
And we're waiting
On
for an update on the tables,
Yep,
because they did the 3-step. They sent out a certified letter, demand letter, then the prosecutor's office sent a letter. They haven't heard back, and I did send Elizabeth Kosha an email asking what's next if they don't hear a response. So we're still waiting on that.
everything's a process. Like I said, government doesn't work quickly.
That's why we need to get that border then.
Well, it'll be nice to, hear from, Department of Ecology and, would Elizabeth, would yourself or Annelle contact the lady from Whatcom County Public Works that was suggested by Atul?
Becky Snyder.
Yeah, to invite her.
I have to contact
You
them.
do.
Yeah, if you can,
Okay.
get a hold of
Sure,
Becky, that would be great.
that works.
And invite her.
So
And
we have to get some specifics, because they're gonna be zooming in. Becky might come up because she's in Bellingham, I don't know, but, Robin definitely won't.
no, just, yeah, the Zoom and we'd like to discuss.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's all you need, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess we have the Point Roberts Halloween party here at the community center on October 31st. It's put on by Nielsen's Lumber
Have fun with the children.
and the community center. So we'll be having fun. Oh,
I
and
won't be here. I got a text.
And then at Christmas, the first weekend of December, we have the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of Christmas. Yeah, watch out for that. It's gonna come out in the newspaper. We're gonna have a movie night on the Friday night. Saturday will be the bike ride. We're also gonna have a party that night, and Santa will be there.
I like saying.
No, Saturday night market.
Okay,
The Saturday Christmas, vendor thing here, the
Craft
craft
fair.
Yeah, Santa will be there too.
Saturday is.
Amazing.
Whenever that.
No, there's one here on the first Saturday.
It's Halloween for kids or for adults?
Both. Both, it's kind of scary, kind of freaky. You know, the kids come and they come trick or treating.
10 to 2.
No, so there's also one that is, Saturday, December 7th
Yeah.
in the evening. And then it'll carry on to Sunday, the 8th.
Okay, yeah, and then the 14th is the Saturday, the craft fair.
Yeah. So, do I have a motion to adjourn as I get up?
Give you a motion.
Yeah, and secondary, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
When you sent it-
Thank you, everyone. Bye, Jared.
Bye-bye.